Bedtime Stories from Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time. I don't know what the wrapping situation is near you. I mean, this is a wrap-up episode or recap-style episode, but I don't know. Here's the thing: is wrapping wrapping paper. There's wrapping, which is just R-A-P-P-I-N-G, but then there's W wrapping, which means maybe the cloak and paper. Then there's wrapping things up, which is Here's the thing: when you're wrapping something up, aren't you really unwrapping it? No, because you're bringing it to a conclusion, or I mean, like in this case, I'm always wrapping stuff up because it's always going to be a mystery. What is this guy even talking about? And the number of times I've seen that symbol, wrap it up, and I said, this is how I wrap it up, slowly and inefficiently. Now, if you're new, I'm so glad you're here because it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep, the show that exists to keep you company and take your mind off stuff so you could fall asleep. The show is very different. It does take some getting used to. Most listeners say give it 2 or 3 tries and see how it goes. But the reason I make the show is because you that are listening right now, whether you're a regular listener or you're new, you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a bedtime you can feel neutral about and look forward to. And that's why I make the show, and I mean, I also make it because I know how it feels in the deep dark night, tossing, all that stuff. So I'm so glad you're here. Here's what's coming up. A lot of nonsense and confusing stuff, but the show will have some support, so it can come out free twice a week. Then there'll be an intro, which could be part of your wind down routine or may put you to sleep. And then there'll be a nice story kind of recap or look back and look forward type thing. Very sleepy. Oh, boy. Be some serious navel gazing. I might even look up what navel gazing means during this intro. Holy teaser and spoiler. Because for me, I have my own, you say that's a word I have my own interpretation of. Always makes me think of a fuzzy navel, which is a drink that I didn't really have a lot of. I don't drink anymore, but holy cow, this is supposed to be a podcast intro. It's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. And this is how we're able to do it for free twice a week. All right, everybody. Hey, Scoots here, and this is episode 13 of Nuns in Space. And this is where we kind of look back at the creation of Nuns in Space, episode season 3. And so this is the first time you're listening to one of these episodes or to a Nuns in Space episode, glad you're here. These episodes are where we kind of look back. It's kind of like a meandering making of. So you get to kind of see some of the thoughts that go into the show, some of the questions or ideas, and it just offers a great opportunity for meanders. And ideally, it also helps us stay on the production schedule, or in this case, get back on track. I think that's it. Without further ado, we won't have this. So we look back at, I guess there'll be spoilers. But then, you just look at this as like, I watched the DVD extras first, and I fell asleep in 10 minutes, but I think I heard something about there being nuns on a spaceship, and then I forgot. So a couple of things I want to cover, if I remember to, obviously, is episodically modular. This is the first time we did some production stuff with this show. There was something else right before I started talking I wanted to talk about that I forgot. The initial ideas and the listens through before this series. and Nuns in Space and second seasons and third seasons. So let's talk about second seasons and third seasons of Sleep With Me stories and the benefits and the challenges they offer. I don't even know what I was going to say. I wasn't going to say propose, but I don't know what word I was looking for there. Then we'll talk about listening to the second season and then maybe ideas that I had before we started and then where things went. But also I want to earlier talk about the production schedule. So, okay, so where we start is so Sleep With Me has a pretty regular schedule, and we have 3 styles of episodes we make. TV recaps, random episodes, or what we call Trending Tuesday episodes, even though they don't come out on Tuesday, and they're not all based on randomizing or trends. It's just traditionally what we call them. And then written episodes, or, well, lightly written, first, second, third draft style episodes with, I'd say ongoing series, maybe the best way, but those are the written ones, or the most written of the TV show episodes we have a lot of notes on. So those episodes come out alternating between one another, so traditionally it'd be, they alternate in the rounds of 3. And that way there's always something for somebody, because there are people that don't like the story episodes. There's people that don't like TV recap episodes. And there's people that don't like random episodes. So that way fans of each one, or usually people are not fans of one, but there are a lot of people that exclusively just listen to a few things. So the more selection we offer, that's part of it. And then we have tried to alternate between having a series of returning characters and then a series of new characters. And that'll be the case for the next series we do coming up. It'll be a new series, new concept, and should be interesting as we've been, so that's, and so sometimes we do second series, third series. This is season 3 or series 3 of Nuns in Space. And Stan and sidekick Scooter remain some of the long-term listeners' favorite characters, along with Lady Witchbeard and Agatha, the stepmother of Cinderella, as the ones I hear about the most. Though, there is some love out there for James Cash Penney, Richard Warren Sears, and Dr. Triangle and Isosceles, and, all the characters. Now I feel like I'm leaving people out. But, I do get this question, when's the next series about with Stan? When's the next Nuns in Space? For years, and that's totally understandable. No problem if you have that feeling. Feel free to send me an email. But I will say that it won't change the time when it comes out, because, one, we plan pretty far ahead of time, or I kind of allot things pretty far ahead of time. So obviously the first half of 2023 will be taken up by this next series. And I won't even think about the back half of 2023 until, I don't know when, till the time is right. So you say, hey, well, so there's a couple things we wait around for. Say, of course I want to spend more time with Stan when there's a kind of idea that makes it work. And sometimes those ideas will come and go, so I kind of wait for the sticky ideas, or I forget to write down, and maybe I miss a good idea. I don't know. But the cool thing about returning characters is that I know them, and I kind of have a better idea of their motivations and who they are and how they interact with one another and they interact with the world. Though that also offers a challenge, because the listeners also have their own relationship with the characters. And ideally, most people are falling asleep anyway, but that doesn't change the thing that Sleep With Me listeners, like people that consume everything, have a sense of taste for the things they consume. And they have a taste for episodes of Sleep With Me, and they have their flavor profiles. And so if something doesn't fit that profile, they'll have feelings about it. And our goal is not to wake you up, right? And also because of the rigorous schedule of Sleep With Me, what is that stuff called in a movie set where continuity is few and far, the continuity errors are not few and far between. But I don't get a lot of continuity questions. It's just more of like what people would, if people, expectations being out of misalignment or flavor. You say, this tastes different than I remember. And that happens with everything. And even with me. So I'd gotten questions ever since Nuns in Space 2 came out. When's the next series of Nuns in Space? And I said, well, I don't know, because I don't know when would it be after. My questions honestly were like, what happened in season 1 and 2? There's Stan and Scooter, and Earth was a cloud. Is there still a clouded delusion? Or did they, so many series, did they spread it across time and space? And what would that mean? Or when was season 2 a prequel? I don't remember. I mean, I'm not kidding. People, this is not a bit. That's, because I'm making episodes before, you know what I mean? I'm not able to focus or be my own archivist in a sense. And even if I did, if I had an archivist to write a report, I would say, I don't know if I have time to read this report in a way that would affect the making of it. Because I got to go make episodes. So that means that usually the season, it's great. I've learned that it's like, okay, well, is this a standalone concept that ideally is firewalled from as much continuity as possible? And this time I had other concepts about the series that ended up not panning out. But, I had, Stan is always becoming a little bit more of a sentient being is one of the goals. And the interaction of Stan being in a leadership position or growing into one in season 2, becoming more and more, quotey quotes, human. Though Stan is not human, just like, just using Scooter language that Scooter would understand, to quote Stan. So that was kind of the thing with, okay, where's Stan on Stan's development now? That's one question that was out there in my head. Okay, if we're into season 3, where would it be with Stan's development? And I had ideas come and go, particular ideas like a season-long thing with Stan with a rival, because I think we had Stun at one point. And then another thing I had was like Stan's first romantic relationship or a series of Stan having that change from going from prepubescence to pubescence or whatever you want to call it. But that's not enough to drive a season. But I said, okay, those could be parts of it maybe. And then I'm not sure where this idea came from for the conceit of this season, but I did want to say there was a couple other concepts that were important. And I don't know if these came first or second, to be honest. But again, the initial concept of Nuns in Space, which is the hardest concept to deliver on, and continues to be the most elusive in some sense, because even a bending of reality is almost impossible. For me to be on a spaceship with the nuns from my childhood for real, I guess as an adult, and to try to work together, that was the initial concept for Nuns in Space. And it was a concept that I wanted to build something in for this season, once again, to be like, okay, I want that to somehow be a reality this season, that Scooter Drew has to work with the nuns from his childhood. And it isn't just a pure delusion, or it's not questioning, there isn't a question of, are these the real nuns from your childhood, or are you being delusional? Which was kind of how we did it in season 1. Season 2 was the Stan Chronicles, so I don't think there was any nuns. But, so that idea kind of came to me in a sense of, again, playing with what does it mean to make an episodically modular series? in a way that is effective, even though it's not really effective because you have to title everything. And normally the people that object or say, this is like, as soon as you think something's not going to work for you with Sleep With Me, it's not going to work. It's just a reality. And there's no reason to take that, like, that's normal behavior. I want to normalize it for anybody that says, well, when I see episode 5, I can't listen to it. And I understand and empathize with you, and that's why I work so hard to keep the selections going. But I will reiterate, just in case there is some movement inside of you, but to normalize, if there isn't, that's normal, is that I've worked really hard over the past, 5-6 years to really probe, what does this mean to make an episodically modular series or what is it? Episodic and not serialized with a touch of seriality. I mean, otherwise it would be hard to get to the conclusion, which kind of goes into our production this time. But I realized, okay, like that could be part of, and I think it helps with the past couple of seasons or series we've done and being like, okay, what does this mean if there's like, you're following a procedure? So there is a task that has to be completed. And let's go into the production stuff before we get into the plot stuff. But also, if you're new, all episodically modular means is that you could mostly listen to it out of order. And so the first time I did this, I don't know how successful, well, I do know how successful it was, and the challenges it offered. And actually the freedom, because, I'll be honest, I just recorded episode 9. And I feel like, that's episode 7. I don't remember what episode 8 is now. Oh, wait a second. I can kind of almost remember what episode 8 is. But I feel like episode 9 was the strongest episode of the season, just from my production sense. I haven't listened to it yet. And it could also be recency, whatever that is, because I just recorded it. But so I'll tell you, if you're listening, and this has never happened before with the serialized series that I remember, that I recorded the beginning of the season and the end of the season and then all the other episodes. And as far as I can tell, I don't remember right at this moment if I recorded episode 1 and then episode 2 and then 10, 11, and 12. But I know 10, 11, and 12 were either recorded after episode 1 or after episode 2. And I just wanted to see, hey, if you're going to do something episodically modular, man, let's really try this. Now there's probably been other times during the season episodes have moved, though I can't remember. So I don't have an example of that. But I really wanted to see, okay, if we're going to make this with just a touch of seriality, let's figure out how to end this. And then then if we're not leading towards an ending, all the episodes after the ending will they'll be fully episodically modular, even in their production. And I feel like the cool thing is that it enabled me to do that. The other side of it is, and it probably might not return to it for 2 reasons. One is a production reason, is that because with the episode like this, the release schedule, because this is I use this as an analogy a lot, but it really is. That Sleep With Me is like a moving train that I'm building the tracks for and everybody else that works on the show. And even with some lead time, that makes it made it really difficult. Once we got through episode 2, it's nice now to have episode 9 done, to know that 10, 11, and 12 are also done. And now I'm doing 13. So that's 1, 10, 11, 12, 13. And we usually like to have 6 to 8 episodes. I think I've given up on having 8 episodes of the series, but 6 is nice in the bank. So anyway, that really did create some, and patrons would know that those episodes weren't even always ready 10 days out from public release because the reality is the shows have to be edited, they have to be listened to, they have to be mixed, and all that takes time. So that was a challenge, but also creatively, I do feel like one of the things about making these ongoing series, and that's why I probably feel like 9 is the strongest episode, in my opinion, right now as I'm talking, is the longer time you spend with the characters interacting and facing, challenges or whatever, the more, that's how they develop. And how you get to know them is seeing them deal with things. And so that leads things to a conclusion. So it's kind of like tough when you're making something that's both a touch of seriality and episodically modular, but also not a pre-planned production. It's not like I'm plotting out the whole season. I just don't have the reality and time for that. So it was interesting to do, and I think it was successful, but I don't know if I'll do it again. But maybe if I did, it would be another recurring set of characters, because then it would be, I don't know. So it could be, because, for example, to go into the creative stuff, it was like, well, okay, so we had the nuns, and then we had the idea that Stan would have demigod powers, and that, delusion had been cast across time and space, and that Stan was going to deal with the delusion. And then the idea came of like, oh, well, it'd be cool, and not just for episodically modular reason, but for a challenge for Stan to be reset at the start of every episode and starting in the middle of something, and also not knowing, kind of important for the story, to challenge Stan, that Stan doesn't know that whatever Stan's dealing with is caused by some sort of concentrated delusion. You're going to remember that the next time, unless your memory's wiped. So then at the next planet, Stan would just say, well, let's find the concentrated source of delusion and get to the bottom of that. And then for Scooter to come in, Scooter has his own procedure to figure out stuff with the nuns to get to Stan. But then Scooter's there to help Stan. And also, Scooter hasn't been in that situation, so it's not like, and Scooter's not there to solve things, but to help Stan solve things. And for Scooter to try to just solve things would be go against the character, but also it'd be like go against their relationship, and it would just be confusing. Even if it was like Scooter was going to go in there and say, Stan, and he'd just stop talking. Like there's a piece of concentrated delusion here, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. All this time you've spent on the planet working towards a solution has made it worse. Not your fault, it's the delusion's fault. Stan would say, Scooter, I think you're being delusional, like, or I think I know where the concentrated delusion is, and he'd tap my head or something. So yeah, that, what was my point? I'm getting mixed up. I was just like, he's right. But so, that way, each episode, Stan has to work towards a solution too. I don't know what I was setting up. And then Scooter has to come help him. But creatively, I don't know, that's very episodically modular. And I don't know, I enjoyed it. Also the idea that, but originally that it was like, it was very important that, that the Scooter and the nuns were trapped in a gem inside of Stan. And the nuns were really trying to get out, but they were also caught in a loop. And then I said, like, once I got to the end, I was like, okay, now that's not super important. And even I can remember running in like going for a trail run and listening and thinking about all this and being like, I don't know how this really works. Okay, so there's a gem stuck in Stan. There's a lot of unanswered questions, I'll say. What wasn't unanswered is that the questions of every episode, what does Scooter need to do and help the nuns with so he can get to Stan? And basically Stan's on a planet that has a situation. Stan will try to solve the problem and make it worse. That wasn't a rule, but it's like, Stan's first efforts won't work out normally because Stan's headed in the wrong direction, but also as a key of this one that, Stan and Scooter Stan needs Scooter. And I mean, Scooter needs Stan. Their relationships is kind of the most important thing in Stan's growth or Stan's humanity. So those are the kind of things we're exploring, and that hopefully the procedure or the process of the episodically modular series is set forth as these challenges. I mean, originally, what called me back was thinking about Stan falling in love, and so then. But then I was like, did that happen in season 2? So then, if you're a member of the Midnight Mission newsletter, which is free, you can sign up at sleepwithmepodcast.com/midnightmission. I re-listened to all the episodes of season 2 at like 2 times speed in like 15 to 30 minute chunks. And so I realized, okay, that was an interesting season. It was mostly based on the artist's journey or the artist's way. And while Stan did kind of have a relationship with a ship whose name escapes me, I think that was even earlier in that season. And I was like, okay, like maybe this is part of it. Like Stan maybe Stan goes on dates. Stan has a crush on somebody, had all these really grand ideas, like even having a Stan podcast about it. Part of that was just the falling off of like our production budget, like or whatever, to being able to allot time to stuff as like things changed with the support behind the show. But like I was like, okay, we just can't make this side podcast or whatever. But it was also at the same time like, okay, well, that kind of feels like too gimmicky, even though the whole idea of episodically modular, I guess gimmicky is more like, where can I create a place for Stan and Scooter to be or build a story or whatever? I don't know, like instead of forcing them into a story and saying, hey, Stan, you're going to start dating now. Like, okay, well, why would I do that, Scooter? And I say, well, because it's the idea I had. Oh, okay. And they say, well, can't you wait till I want to start dating? So, I don't know. It just was like, okay, this doesn't seem like where the show, where once you start telling the story, I don't know. It's kind of like looking for a path in the woods for me or whatever. So, I mean, I think I talked about this analogy before, but I think it was Robert Rodriguez said, oh, well, yeah, like I'm making a story. It's like it's in the attic and all the pieces of story are scattered around the attic. And my job's to go around the attic and looking and stuff. Oh, there's something here underneath this thing. Now, what part of the story does this, I mean, that's not that simple of an analogy, and that's probably not the analogy that they were making, that it's just that, but I don't know. So, okay, so we listened to the first season. We recorded it out of order. Oh, another thing I was hoping, and I'd looked at the release schedule, and maybe this was also a part of the recording it out of order. It is really hard for me to make it, but I was thinking we'd do themed episodes, and we kind of did, but they got released out of order just because, again, the schedule. But so the cornucopia episode came out in September, and then we kind of had 2 Halloween-esque themed episodes. There's no holiday style episodes. But I was thinking that could be was like initially an idea of like, but I didn't forget like how spread out those are and how to stay on schedule. It'd be like, okay, well, there's no way for us to meet the schedule, and just move stuff around, without skipping a week or skipping a couple weeks. But I thought that might have been cute to like do that, but it didn't work out. So there's that. And, like, here's an idea. Like, we got a little bit of time here, and I'll see what else comes up about Nuns in Space. But I'm just thinking of the next series we're doing, and I've probably done this before. It's like, okay, well, what can I record now, and how will it be different for the next series without giving too much away? But maybe I can't do that. But so I'm working on, today was the first day of writing the new series. And that one has kind of gone through some flavor changes as it became a concept. And this was an interactive one, like where, I don't know what, like initially this idea is only 2 or 3 months old, which is pretty young for, so I don't know what I was thinking I was going to do before that. I can't even honestly remember, but I was like, what's the next series going to be? And then this idea came storming out of nowhere, literally. Like my daughter and I, and maybe after the series, I'll tell you the movie and stuff. So my daughter and I watched a movie, and we watched the original version of the movie. And then we watched a remake, which the movie, I think it was an 80s movie. The remake came out in not the aughts and not the 20s, the 10s or whatever. And there's also like a musical version of it, which we haven't watched. And the movies are not musicals, though there is music in the movies. So some of you might have figured it out. Please don't publicly. Just keep it until the season comes to an end. But you could privately share your guesses, I guess. But I won't. Honestly, I can't answer it. And we got really lucky because we were, and I just saw a tweet, somebody who joked about this. It's like things have gotten now back to the point where it's like, I wish I could just, in this case, I did pay to rent the movie. I mean, I paid on a streaming service to rent it, but because it was like, we were looking for the movie and it took forever because even when you Google which service has this movie, it wasn't correct. And then the only thing we could find was the remake, which was on one of the services we use. And the original was not anywhere to stream for free. And then I said, and my daughter's like, well, let's just watch the remake. And I said, no, I just got a sense I think we should watch the original first. And it wasn't like, I literally had no memory of this movie or almost no memory of it. And so this is some serious vagueness, right? This is probably good for I apologize if the vagueness is not working for you, but, so I said, it just had a vague sense though, that I said, well, I really think we should watch, I don't remember the original version, but I think we should watch the original. And this was not a lauded film, and it's not even a film that, I mean, I guess when I think about the remake, and it was a straight remake. I mean, when I say that it wasn't remade as a comedy or something like that, or a parody of the original. It wasn't a shot-for-shot remake, though, either. But so we watched the original, and again, like I said, it's not a movie that's, I don't know. It's a movie, I don't know, so like that anybody's like, you got to go rewatch this. But now I'll tell you, you probably should think about rewatching it because when you hear what movie it is down the road, because I was like, holy cow, this movie's pretty good. And for the 80s, it was nuanced. And that was the one thing I did not associate with it. I was like, I thought the movie had no nuance. And maybe it was some of the level of performance in the movie, but I was just so blown away. And then we watched the remake, and I was glad we watched the original first, because I think if we watched the remake, there's no way I could have got my daughter to watch the original. And I don't think I would have enjoyed the original alone, or I would have had a different flavor. But the thing about the original was that there was just a couple things that were kind of like slightly uncanny. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm going to use it in a good way. So I think it was after we watched the movie, but it could have been while we were still watching it, that I started or maybe it was at bedtime, and I was trying to get my daughter to go to sleep, where I started, I guess it was at bedtime. It was that I started writing like a journal, like a out loud journal of the main character, because I had the idea, once I was thinking about this uncanny idea, I was like, oh, wait a second, what if this, and so here's the thing, and this will make sense for the series that's coming up, even though it's a different idea. I've never seen an episode of, what's that show called? Is it Touched by an Angel with Michael Landon? And I remember that show being on the air a lot. And then Quantum Leap, which has a new version out. I don't think, maybe I watched a version of Quantum Leap. Now, there was a show even before Quantum Leap and Touched by an Angel. And I don't know if it was on repeats. Like, I can barely remember anything about it. But it was like this procedural similar to those, which isn't that different than like in Nuns in Space we talked about, A-Team and Knight Rider. So I don't know if, here's like what I think Touched by, is that, no, it's not called, Highway to Heaven is what it's called. Touched by an Angel is something else. I don't know what that one's about. But my understanding about Touched by an Angel, or no, Highway to Heaven, is that it's like Michael Landon's an angel. He goes to a town and helps people, like a guardian angel. Now, I might be wrong, and I don't know. And that's not what this series is. But that's what I was imagining this movie was. And there's nothing in the movie that has that. It's all it was all me fan fictioning it. But I started writing these imaginary journals, or telling them to my daughter as bedtime stories of the main character from the movie, writing journals at night, checking in. Because here's the thing, even though it was a film, when you really look at the plot of the movie, and really what's powerful about the movie to me, you know, they say like with movies or stories, and I don't know if I don't think it's necessarily true. There's like two kinds of stories. A stranger comes to town, or a person goes on a journey. And this one was definitely a stranger comes to town, and, but they're there, the stranger, to help people, particularly the two. I don't know, the person helping is definitely the lead, but there's two very interesting characters, and then there's some even C-plot characters. But there's two B-plot characters that need help, and actually, like on an emotional journey or whatever, they both need something to shift within them. And some of this could be projection, but no, I don't think so. And in a very nuanced way again, and even in, and some of the behavior of one of the characters is so over the top that it actually adds nuance to me, or did to me. Now, the reviews of this movie when it came out, I read some today, were not good. So again, this could be like, when I return, I could be going on a journey. But whatever. So I had the idea that this character was actually there for a reason. I mean, in the story, they're there for a reason, but you're watching the movie, you're not really there. Like, what's the difference in the story? There's like a character has a want and a need, right? And in this story, the main character wants something, and they want to overcome this challenge that the place, they think they're there to change this one surface thing. But really, they're there to help the other two people. I'm trying to think what they need. I mean, I guess but But I don't know. And that is, in a sense, that conundrum for me, it might not be the reality of the movie, was like, well, what do they really need? Yeah, they want this, and maybe they want something else too. But what do they need? They just need to help these two people, and maybe a couple other, and actually, their other bonds come from helping people too. And even the symbolic thing they're doing is helping people. But, they really need to help these two characters heal. I mean, they're there. And I said, well, is this what Highway to Heaven was like? Because I said, this movie, this character could be placed there for a reason. Now, they didn't come to town by themselves. So you say, okay, well, probably continuity error in Scoots' brain. I'd say, read about that. But so I started writing, not writing, I was just making them up on the spot, basically this main character going into the room at night to get ready for bed, lying down, and then kind of writing a journal, like day one, this happened and I got here. And I think this, almost like a guardian angel checking in with the Geo to the D. And saying, hey, I'm just reporting back, and, this is what I found out so far, and I think this is what you want me to do, but I totally don't understand it, or I don't know how I'm going to do it. And these are some of the things I encountered. And so then, and I was able to go on some good meanders, and I think it was like a 2 or 3 night thing. And my daughter was laughing, and Anna had meanders. Those are always good signs. And we were both like, this should be the podcast. And I said, okay. And then I said, well, okay, maybe this could be the next season. And then I started flushing it out, right? And I said, well, this does sound I've never watched Highway to Heaven, but it does sound like the plot of that show. Plus, that's kind of very, I said, well, that gets into belief systems and, is there a way to kind of, it seems like it could be a block for some people. And also, it has a different creative constraint than the one I like. But I said, I like this idea. And the more I thought about the movie and imagining that the character was sent there on an assignment, I don't know, and that was kind of the basic of the thing of the journal was that they were sent there to help in a general way. You're going to find a couple people and they need your help. But yeah, I guess I'll have to look up Highway to Heaven if that's what it was about. But let's finish up. We got about 5 minutes. But so basically this series is not that. I mean, it is a imagining of what would the Sleep With Me version of all of that be? Let's see. Highway to Heaven, though. This is fun. Have we done this before? I mean, on this style episode? I think we have. Highway to Heaven, American drama series. Oh, drama. Okay, started in 89. No. Oh, ended in 89. Started in 84. Still airing on, okay, here we go. Here's a Wikipedia. Fantasy drama. Michael Landon as Jonathan Smith, an angel sent to help people in need. Yeah. Victor French was Mark Gordon. Co-star from Little House on the Prairie, who travels with and helps Smith on the tasks or assignments. And I think that's an important part of these, I think on Quantum Leap, there's that other dude who's kind of and then on the show I'm thinking of as a kid, it was an adult and a kid that were I don't know if it was called time travelers or something, time helpers. And then Knight Rider has Kit, the A-Team have one another. So the helper is important in this idea. And this is very procedural and episodically modular again. And I mean, ours is different, but let's see. Okay, so we got this 111 episodes, plot and themes. Okay, interesting. Sent to help people in need. Meets Mark Gordon, who's not happy. Oh, so this dude only has one trip. Mark helps him complete his assignment. Volunteers to help Jonathan help people on Earth. The boss approves, and they get assignments. Yeah, so this is pretty much along the lines of what I was thinking of as far as like that character. So they have jobs. They arrive in a new city and take jobs. So yeah, there's a little bit about it. Production. Michael Landon had the idea. This is from Wikipedia. I was on my way driving through Beverly Hills to pick up my kids, and everybody's honking in Beverly Hills. And people have money, and they think if they honk, things will part. And I thought, why is everybody so irritated? I'm paraphrasing. If they spend that time being nice, it would go better for everybody. And people were skeptical when he pitched the idea, but he was persistent, Landon. And he said, I would even make 2 pilots, the second pilot for free or no pay. And he chose Victor French because they were familiar with one another from Bonanza and Little House on the Prairie. And there's a theme song by David Rose. And it was consistently ranked among the top 25 shows on TV. Let's see, and yeah, syndicated. So interesting. Oh, wait, reboot film series. Oh, there was a reboot film series. So yeah, I don't know. Basically, looking at, I've never watched this show, or maybe I don't think I have. And I don't think I really watched any Quantum Leap. I mean, those shows were probably on before, but I mean, those, I guess, are archetypes. I mean, particularly for me, I watched Riptide, A-Team. I mean, I definitely watched a lot of A-Team and a little bit less Knight Rider, but I did watch my share of Knight Rider. And I mean, like, to close out, like, I mean, it wasn't always like rooting, like just like watching Transformers and G.I. Joe. And I don't know, maybe I could find a way to do this in this series. I don't know if you can. I found myself always rooting not for the protagonist, because it's like, I mean, I think that's maybe where A-Team had the most range. Was that because they had different characters, you could adjust your feelings and have some, you'd say, well, I've had enough of faces looking good, or I've had enough of Murdoch messing stuff up, or Mr. T's competence in all areas and his bad attitude. So, I don't know, like you could move around with what character. So I don't know, but so basically, I don't know. The next series, we'll see how it goes. But and it's not those are the concepts it's related to. But hopefully, it goes in a bit of a different direction. But then when you look at Nuns in Space, it just had that, but like with 2 wheels. Like one was a small wheel or circle with Scooter trying to find a way to help like, what's the problem with the nuns? How's Scooter going to help? Oh, that didn't work. Try this, try this. Oh, try that. It gives me a portal to Stan. And Stan actually gets to a world like where it's like, okay, here's a world that was normally an important part of space or, you know, whatever. Something happened there and it stopped being, the way of life was interrupted. And Stan gets there at some point, usually after the way of life was interrupted, realizes, oh, this isn't the normal way of life. Oh, let me try to help you adjust or oh, there seems to be a problem now. And then it becomes, then Scooter's here and then we fix it. I don't know. So that's it with Nuns in Space, looking back. And thanks so much for listening. Thanks for being here every week with me. And good night, everybody. All right, I want to thank everybody that became a patron recently. Rolf, Michael, and Beryl. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Andrew, Ashley, and Kim, thank you, thanks, and good night. Ryan, Mish, and Richard, thank you, thanks, and good night. Beryl, so we had Beryl V and Beryl W. Thanks, Beryl, Jenny, and Z, thank you, thanks, and good night. Taylor, Abby, and Taylor, Taylor M. and Taylor, and just plain Taylor, thanks, and good night. Debbie, Bridget, and Dean, thank you, thanks, and good night. Nicole, Marianne, and MJ, thank you, thanks, and good night. Ray, Oi, and Martin, thanks, and good night. Carolyn, Eric, and Alan, thank you, thanks, and good night. Sharon, Bahir, and Bird, thank you, thanks, and good night. And Sarah, Beth, and Tony, thank you, thanks, and good night. This is all possible because of those people I just listed, the people that support the show directly on Patreon or our sponsors. But there are plenty of free ways to help the show or podcasting in general, too. You could find those all out at sleepwithmepodcast.com/DDNU. Join the Deep Dark United, or just spread the word about podcasting in general. Show somebody what a podcast app is, how to use it. In a very soft sell way, say, oh, this is the podcast app I use. These are some podcasts I listen to. Let me just show you. Make it a visual audio, whole thingamajig learning. But you don't need to sell them on it. But you do need to kind of show them. I don't know. I don't get it. There's a lot of people I say, there's podcasts about that. But anyway, just, spreading podcasts eventually will help Sleep With Me because one out of every, the show has a very niche appeal, but, if the people know about podcasts and the show, you know what I'm saying? Thanks so much for everybody takes action to support the show, whatever your action is. I rely on you. So thanks. And here's a couple. We've had Tuck You In sponsors. I don't know. I just listened to an episode that didn't have a Tuck You In sponsor, but that's how we went from like only 200 episodes in the archives to last I looked, it was 526. Available for free. So that's amazing. What is that? 326 episodes over the past year and a half that we've been able to add in. So thanks and good night, everybody.